Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of News in Motion. Today is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Um, Today is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Whether you're tuning in live here at 7:25 a.m. Or if you're catching the replay, whether it be in the afternoon, the evening time, or near the nighttime, we just want to say thank you for all your support. If this is your first time tuning in to News in Motion, welcome. News in Motion is a news media outlet with relevant commentary and call to action news. We could be found on any audio and podcast streaming platforms. Um, we can also be found on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. Speaking of YouTube, shout out to Miss Marion Jackson, who's coming up in through YouTube. Good morning to you, Miss Lori A. Wallace, tuning in through Facebook. Good morning, Miss Adrian, who is also tuning in through YouTube. Good morning, Miss Tracy Newmy. Uh, she says, "Good morning, birthday man." I appreciate that. The birthday isn't until Friday, but I appreciate the early wishes. Good morning, Miss Jackie Rutledge. Good morning, Mr. Robert Holman, tuning in through Facebook, and good morning, Miss Shardinia, who is tuning in through Facebook as well. So, without further delay, y'all know what we do here. Let's get ready for some news in motion.
News in motion.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. I'm just reading some of the chat as you all are popping in here. I see my cousin in here, Terry Davis. I see, I'm trying to catch up where everyone is. Deborah Johnson, I see you. She says she's still smiling about your interview yesterday, Isaiah. I see you. Good morning, Jeff Payne. Hester Jackson. Good morning to you again, Frank Clay Jr. coming in from LinkedIn. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Adrian is loving this music. I love it too. Felicia Williams, good morning to you. And to my brother, good morning to you. Donita, I believe, is popping in here as well. So good morning to all of you. Good morning. Yes, y'all. I see you, Yvonne Gardner. Good morning to you. That interview yesterday was amazing. And again, it's going to be on the Politics and Prose podcast on Friday. So Gina, in her greatness, is able to pull it. And then we're going to make a few edits and post it up there so that you all can share it. So you won't have all the news around it. You would just have the interview and just share it with as many people as you possibly can. That will release on Friday at 7 a.m. I see you, Regina Shorts, coming in here as well. So good morning to all of you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. As Isaiah said, it is Wednesday, October the 18th, 2023, and we have a lot going on, y'all. We have a lot going on. So I understand that I will be trying to connect some of these dots towards the end of this morning's segment because I think that is so important. So, y'all, as you all know, on the whole thing has been now 10 days. The entire thing is extremely sad. A massive blast rocked Gaza City Hospital, packed with wounded and other Palestinians seeking shelter. They thought that would be the safe place to go, so that's where they went. But there was a massive blast yesterday, killing 500, at least 500 people on yesterday. Really sad. The Hamas blames Israeli airstrike, while the Israeli military said the hospital was hit by a rocket misfired by the Palestinian militants. So we don't know. We're not there. We don't have the information there to know. Um, uh, Marion says, I see Hakeem Jeffries as the new Speaker of the House. Not yet. Not yet. He had 212, but not 217. The number there is 217. Good morning to you, Stephanie. So all of this is happening in Gaza City. Now, Associated Press is reporting that according to the health ministry, there's a lot of questions that are coming out. Now, Hamas claims that they are completely out of that. There are many tunnels that they're starting to look at. So if you're following anything, they're starting to look at tunnels to see if where people may be hiding, if hostages are down in those tunnels and whatnot, and the different arms and stuff and the military stuff they're finding. This tunnel connects Gaza to Israel underground from years ago. So all of that is happening now. Doctors in Gaza City face they're dwindling in medical supplies. They perform surgeries on the hospital floors yesterday, many without anesthesia. They said they were just trying to save people and to help people who have been wounded badly. The victims. I don't know if you saw any of the images. We will not show them here, but many of the images were just piled up bodies. I can't even imagine that. And they're talking about the fumes and the smells now, and they're running out of all types of supplies, including clean water. So a lot of prayer needs to go there. A lot of prayer needs to go there. Good morning, Dr. Antoinette. So I wanted to start there, but that struck with me. I'm going to get into the speaker for a moment, but I wanted to share what's happening around the world today because there's a lot of connections here. But before I get there, let me talk about the speaker update. Yesterday, the Republican representative, Jim Jordan, he was like sucker punched. Like we're not voting for you. 20 Republicans said no. So they thought they were going to do a second vote at 7 p.m. yesterday evening. It didn't happen. And the reason that did not happen is because as they were trying to whip up votes, these votes were not going his way. They're not going. So they said, okay, we're not going to do that. So they're going to do one at 11 a.m. Eastern today. And they're saying that he has the votes. And you hear other people saying that he does not have the votes. So we don't know what's going to happen. So if he does not get the votes, they're saying they're not going to do a 15 ballot as they did before. So we got to just see this play out. Let's look. Now, Hakeem Jeffries did get all 212, just like he did all 15 ballots back in January. The question is, will people come over to support him so they can move on? That's a possibility. Not likely, but a possibility. But they're now looking at, the Democrats are coming, trying to have some conversation with some moderate Republicans saying, we will support a measure, a referendum, if you will, of giving the Speaker pro tem some power to run so we can get some things done. And they would give him so many days, and that's McHenry. So that's probably what will happen if Jim Jordan does not win the speaker's seat today at 11. So we just have to stay tuned and see what's happening. So they're like, we got work to do. We're now less than 30 days for the government shutdown. So we have that on the table as well. So I want to hear from some of you this morning. Frank Clay says major triggers for unintended death. But this is a war and killing of all kinds can be expected. The drama of the war is a trigger by itself. I agree with you. Good morning, Kim Edmondson. Happy hump day to you. And yeah, they know Jordan is a bad deal for the time. Yeah, they know that. Yeah, they know Jim Jordan is a bad deal. So all of this is coming out, y'all. All this is coming out. So with that, I'm going to go. If Isaiah, I don't see him in the green room, so we can't do that yet. But yeah, we have to vote. Oh, he just came back. So I want to go because there are still, although that there's early voting taking place right now for many people, they are still calling for poll workers. So we're going to show this quick video about poll workers, and then we're going to get into world news. So go ahead, Isaiah.
Ready to help America vote? Working the polls on Election Day is a great way to strengthen our democracy right in your own community. Poll workers set up polling places, check in voters, and answer questions, and show us how to use voting machines. It's important. Any voter can file an application to become a poll worker, and most poll workers get paid. Because right now, America needs more election workers to volunteer. Learn more at helpamericavote.gov.
So yeah, please help. You can go to powerthepolls.org org, I believe, / News in Motion to register as well. Again, that's powerthepolls.org / News in Motion to become an election poll worker. So please pay attention to that, everyone. All right, let's get into some counsel on foreign relations. As we know, President Biden has landed into Israel. He's there to really show his support and try to figure out how things are going to come together. And we already have Jordan, not Jim Jordan, but Jordan backing out of this conversation. At 6:23 a.m. Eastern this morning, the pool, which is Joe Biden's media team, was gathered outside a hotel ballroom ahead of the meeting. I'm not for sure if that meeting has started or not. When last I checked, it had not started. Now, Egypt remains reluctant to welcome Palestinians seeking flee Gaza as Israel prepares for this retaliatory offensive against Hamas. So you have people pushing back too. Also, we have U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for almost 9 hours on Monday, said that the United States and Israel are developing a plan. So we have that in place. I'm slow walking this, so I make sure I get it all out. Now, that's happening in that direction. Then we have Russians, President Vladimir Putin, I always say his name, Vladimir Putin, excuse me, arrived in Beijing on yesterday on his second known international trip since the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. Now, he is due to attend a forum on China's Belt and Road Infrastructure Investment Program that begins today before meeting the Chinese president. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, okay, there's a warrant, you go anyway, you want to talk about infrastructure. So that's happening. Now, the United States, I'm building here, signed a 20-year, $2.3 billion agreement to provide economic assistance to the Marshall Islands. The deal chief's U.S. negotiator said on yesterday, the United States is responsible for the defense of the Marshall Islands and has exclusive military access to the Pacific nation. I'm still building. India's Supreme Court declines to legalize same-sex marriage. Ruling recognition of legal rights must be implemented by the country's parliament. Now, the India's Supreme Court decided that the responsibility to rule on the matter rests in India's legislator. So they're going back and forth. There's also some ties with other people. Hang with me. I'm still going. What I'm giving you now, we have access. We get the reports from the Council on Foreign Affairs, Foreign Relations. And when I was looking at everything over the last 30 days, I said, all of these things are connected. So listen, the U.S. Security Council rejected Russia's resolution on Monday that condemned violence against civilians, but did not mention the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Aha. Really? So where did this come from? And how does Russia get in here and the UN and all of these things? Now, just 4 other countries out of the UN Security Council, 15 members joined Russia in the vote. Y'all joined Russia in the vote? Help us understand this. What's the connection? What's going on here? Belgium. Now I'm in Belgium. Belgium Prime Minister called the Monday night shooting of 2 Swedish soccer fans in Brussels a terror attack. Police shot the gunman. Now here's what's interesting. I've read a lot, and only the Council on Foreign Affairs gave this information first. And now that we are reporting it, now they want to talk about it. Let me tell you the rest of it. Police shot the gunman. Now that's how the news has been out there. No, they shot and killed the gunman just 2 hours later. You didn't hear any of that until just yesterday. Late last night, the different alerts were coming out. And I said, well, why didn't y'all tell us this 2 days ago? Because you did this 2 hours later. And so they're calling it a terror attack to the highest level, the same level that followed the attacks by the Islamic State in 2016. There's a connection, 2016. Well, what was happening in 2016 that you made this connection? Hold on, I'm getting there. The Belgian police shot and killed the man believed to have shot 3 people, again, 2 hours earlier. Okay, the connection to 2016. Well, guess who visited there in 2016? Hello, somebody. The former guy. It's like, what is going on? And what's all the connection and why is everything? So, this is me just asking a question. I'm just asking a question. I didn't read this anywhere. This is just Gail Dudley asking a question. What's in those documents found at Mar-a-Lago? Just a question. I just want to know what's in there because a lot of this is coming back between 2016, 2017, 2018. Is that just a coincidence? No conspiracy theory? I'm asking questions. These are the questions we should be asking. What's up, Diane Ladybug? She says, it's a terror attack everywhere, but in the good old USA. There you go. So, y'all, then we got Russia again. Russia's lower legislative house gave parliamentary approval yesterday to withdraw ratification of a global ban on testing nuclear weapons. Prompting concerns that Moscow could resume nuclear testing. Say what? Let me read that again. Yeah, these are all direct quotes coming from the Council on Foreign Affairs and Foreign Relations. Russia's lower legislative house gave parliamentary approval yesterday to withdraw ratification of a global ban on testing nuclear weapons, prompting concerns that Moscow could resume nuclear testing. Russia said the move, however, brought the country closer to the United States, which has signed but not ratified the ban. So you removed it, then you're going to do testing? Like, what is this all about? Yes, Latrice Jones, I'm asking the questions. I'm trying to see. Frank Clay says all propaganda to trigger the wars they want to get their national interests. I like that. I like that right there. Jackie says nuclear weapons. What? Yeah. Diane Ladybug goes, yeah, we got to ask these questions. Yeah, this information is out there. And I have to raise this question as well. Why aren't the national and international news media sharing this information? Why does it take somebody like little old me that no one really knows, that has, regular viewers from Monday through Thursday? We have a lot of replays, it's in the thousands, but that's not reaching everybody. Why does it take somebody like little old me and other people like me to bring this information that many people aren't hearing it? Isn't that interesting? When this is available, anyone who's registered as a journalist and as a news, has a digital news or national news or media outlet, we all get the same alerts. We get thousands of them a day, and you have to go through them. But we're a small team. We're talking massive teams everywhere else that could have, each person could take 100 to go through, where we're getting thousands. I'm just going through and I do key searches, keywords to pull out what I believe we need to hear here on this platform. So why are we talking about this? Frank Clay says it's scary. Yeah, it's just interesting. Now I got more. An agreement is due to be announced today, in which the United States will ease some sanctions on Venezuela in return for government commitments to conditions for a fair and competitive election next year. Well, why are we in that? That's just a question. Why are we in that? Now, the Washington Post is reporting this, okay? And they're digging deeper. Now, both Nicolas Maduro government and Venezuela's opposition agreed to the conditions. Really? Why did y'all agree to conditions? These are the questions we should be asking. Latrice Jones says it's a whole lot going on right now. I'm going to need to get deep in my prayer closet. I would agree. And I'm not done. I'm not done. Mexico has plans to revive a century-old rail link between the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Island to provide shipping containers with an alternative to the Panama Canal, the country's economy minister told the Financial Times. The government has spent about $2.8 billion, that's with the B, on the project so far. That's a lot of money. What's going to be transport? What are y'all transporting here? What's happening? What's really happening here that you're going to spend so far, not even the final amount, 2.8 billion on the project? Yeah. So they're reviving a century-old rail link between the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean to provide shipping containers. Huh, that's interesting. So as I shared yesterday, and today I have more details. Settling a class action lawsuit filed in San Diego court, the U.S. government agreed to give work authorization and housing benefits to migrant families who were separated on the southern U.S. border in 2017 and 2018 under the former guy zero tolerance policy. Now, the deal still needs a district judge's approval. I just want to remind y'all of something. The reason I'm sharing this again today, because yesterday, although it had been out there for a few days, all these details weren't in here. And what happened was there's journalists who are called investigative journalists that they keep investigating until they get to the bottom of it, because it did not sound right. Even when I was sharing it with you all yesterday, I was like, there's something missing out of this. Something's not here. Well, now we know. 2017, 2018, they're going to give housing benefits to the migrant families who were separated, and the deal still needs a district judge's approval. Well, why didn't y'all say all that the other day? Why did somebody have to dig into this? These are the questions we must ask. Kim Edmondson says, deep sister, listen, we got to keep going. So y'all know what I like to do here. I like to connect the dots, and I like to ask questions. So I decided to formulate some questions for us to have a discussion. How y'all like that? This Wednesday, not necessarily Wednesday workshop, but we're going to dig deep together. Now, questions to ponder. And I was just thinking about it. I said, I'm connecting the dots myself. I said, okay, we have the war in Ukraine and Russia. Now, although that's somewhat intensifying, and y'all know they were able to get 20 children back from Russia back to Ukraine. There was some negotiation that took place. I don't know if y'all been following that, but Ukraine is saying there's about 20,000 children over in Russia that they took hostage and captured. Well, why aren't we still talking about the 20,000 children? Is that the right number? Just like in Israel and Hamas, we were talking 150 hostages. Well, we found out the other day it's 199 hostages. And then yesterday, someone went up to 203 hostages. So what's the number? And why weren't you able to identify that number ahead of time? What's really going on? How did you know exactly how many Americans were there, but you did not know how many hostages? How did we know that there were so many American hostages, but we don't know the number of hostages? A lot of questions we have to ask. So I was connecting that dot there. So are we silencing the Ukraine and Russia rhetoric and conversation and what's going on with that war, and focus all on Israel and Hamas? What's the exchange there? Questions. What about the hate crimes? We had a 6-year-old little boy here in the United States. 6-year-old. What other hate crimes are here? Domestic terrorists right here in the United States. What about hunger? Where does hunger play into this? We have global citizens. Y'all should follow them if you have not began to follow them. Understand this whole global piece and the number. We're no longer talking as we are here on News in Motion, talking about hunger, but your hunger is cutting, and there's a lot of food deserts. There's some right here in Central Ohio. Hello, somebody. There's a lot of food deserts that we're not talking about. Then we have lack of human rights. That's why we have on ballot measures this November all over, and they've been happening since 2020, or actually 2019. We're having all of these human rights, especially when it comes to women's bodies, human rights, just basic human rights. Why are we even having that on the ballot? Why are we even discussing that? So we got human rights. We have domestic terrorists, and the mountain is continuing to be built. Okay, so I started to ask myself this: what questions should we be asking as citizens, even with the global turmoil and everything that's happening? Is number one, is a very complex issue, and what we want to do, we try to separate everything, but y'all, all these dots are connecting. Every dot is connecting. Because no matter where I'm looking, I'm seeing 2016, 2017, I'm seeing 2008. Let's be honest about it. I'm seeing 2009. I'm seeing things and I'm like, well, we were talking about this here. Now they're talking about it here. This went silent for about 3 years. Now it's back. What are the connections? And where do we fall as citizens? And how do we engage in the discussions? Well, we're going to talk about it. So when we have Ukraine and Russia, and I want y'all to fill the chat, please, please, please participate. When we have Ukraine and Russia, the first question I put on there, looking at all these different media alerts, what diplomatic efforts are being made to end the conflict? We keep sending them money, and we're sending them missiles, and we're sending them military equipment, both sides. I mean, not only the U.S., you got China sending stuff, you have the UN sending stuff, you have France sending things, and they're sending to different, it depends upon who they align with. That's who they're sending the information to, or the military, the equipment to, or the money to. So we're sending these things out. Well, where's the diplomatic effort to end the conflict? Why are we encouraging the tension? What do we hope to gain in this tension? That's one question. Another question, how can we support Ukrainians? Like we did some things, but then it went silent. So what are we really doing? Where are the people? Where are the children? Where are the parents of the children that they say are being they have been taken as hostages in Russia? And then what are the potential long-term consequences of this conflict for international relations and global security? We have the Olympics coming up. Yeah, I don't think that's disconnected in everything that's going on. So we have the Olympics coming up July 26, I believe, 2024 through August the 11th. Where's the connection with all of this? And how do we then celebrate sports when we have wars going on? What does that look like? So what's the potential long-term consequence? Let's look at Ukraine. This is now long-term. Ukraine and Russia, this is now long-term. So what is that? What does that look like? So then we have Israel and Hamas. I got time, y'all. I'm taking my time through here, y'all. How can lasting peace be achieved in the midst of this conflict? We're praying for peace. We're calling for peace. But how can peace be achieved? Jackie says, who's getting the big bucks from the arm deals? That's why the diplomats aren't involved. Raise the question, Jackie. Raise the question. Dr. Annette says, diplomatic methods, not photo ops or exploitation. Yes, I like it. We're on it. So y'all, lasting peace. Another question with Israel and Hamas that I come up with. What is the role of international organizations in diplomacy in resolving this ongoing crisis? I'm going to tell you why I raised the question. I'm like, the president just going over there after a blast at a hospital. We just allowed you to get on the Air Force One and fly there. Really? Well, what is that all about? Why are you that comfortable walking up the steps? I know you got Secret Service here, but how help me understand. Why was Chuck Schumer and Mitt Romney and some others over there just on Sunday? Now they had to go to a bunker at some point, but why y'all going over there? Like, can't y'all? We got Zoom. Y'all don't have Zoom. Y'all don't have another method to have these conversations. What's really going on? Latrice Jones says peace seems like a far reach when such horrific things are happening on both sides. I agree with you, and I'm thinking, well, what are we doing here? So the role of international organizations and diplomacy in resolving this ongoing crisis, like what does that really look like? And then how can we support humanitarian efforts to aid civilians affected by the conflict? Let's talk about that for a moment. We know right now they're without fuel, they're without electricity. The hospital has been bombed. 500 or more people have been killed in that bombing. People are hungry. They're starting to fight each other. Can we really send aid over? What does that look like? And does it come back to our home front, starting with our local government before we even get to federal government? And understanding the connection. And y'all know I love this because I think there needs to be some sound-minded people raising these questions and being at the table having these conversations, because that's what's going to make the difference. Because here we have just chaos in the house. The house is on fire. I know y'all say the roof, but the house is on fire. Okay, it's complete chaos. So they do have to do something. They need a speaker. God, please don't let it be Jim Jordan. But they need a speaker. They need some action. Something needs to take place. They need to give more power to the speaker pro tem, which that is probably the likely solution at this moment. But there's some needs to take place. But the chaos is happening all at the same time. That should make us go, what's really happening here? All right. So then we have hate crimes. What can be done to combat hate crimes and promote tolerance and diversity in our communities? We can have workshops all day long, but how do we combat these hate crimes? Again, I think it goes back to our elected officials. Yeah, I do. Have y'all noticed something? And I was going back through different news alerts. Have you all noticed that we're not really talking gun control, and there hasn't really been any of that for a moment, but it's now turned to hate and the crimes with hate and the military action? Have y'all noticed that? There's a different type of violence that's coming about. So it's almost as if we're silencing the guns, but we're using other means. The bullying, all of those types of things are happening right now. So how do we combat this hate crime? How can we address the root cause of hate and prejudice? What does that look like? What is that going to take? How do we surrender our rhetoric and have real conversation and be quiet and still and receive and listen to what people are saying and truly understand how they are feeling? Okay, what does that look like? How does that sound? And then what role does education and awareness play in reducing hate crime? And I'm going to throw another one in there, even within our own individual communities or ethnic groups. Hello, somebody. Our cultural groups, the hate, how we are we dislike each other for it's like, why do you not like that person? What's really going on here? What's the root cause of some of these things? These are the conversations we should be having everywhere. We should be having these conversations at our schools, in our town hall meetings, in our churches. Hello, we should. And have the not make it feel good and look good, but get to the root, like what's really going on. Is it tied to the lack of food? Is it tied to the lack of good benefits, healthcare? Is it tied to the economy? Is it tied to housing? Is it tied to, you listed out there? What is it tied to? Y'all, it's tied to something. They're not just in chaos in the house just because. There's something else going on for the reason of the chaos. It's just, we got to get to the root of this. I'm telling y'all, I need to run, but I won't run. I won't do that because I think you get sucked in over there. And then hunger and lack of human rights. Let's go there. How do we address the root cause of hunger and work towards global food security? What does that look like? Seriously, and how do we get there? What steps can be taken to promote and protect human rights worldwide? Who's listening to people who have some of these questions? How can the government and international organizations collaborate to address this worldwide issue of hunger? What does that look like? Wow, let's see. Latrice Jones says, President of the United States should not be in an active war zone. That's just stupid. Well, there's that. Dr. Annette says, yes, how can we really help civilians without interferences? Jeff Payne says, truly what's going on for real? Jackie says, Satan is having his way in the world. Latrice says, there is a forum on teens and gun violence today, 4 to 6 o'clock at the main library in Columbus. We should go and ask the darn questions. Listen, we should ask the darn questions. We should. Then we have domestic terrorism. How can we prevent and counter domestic terrorism while protecting civil liberties? And I think the reason I wrote this question this way, I think we try to have one without the other. I think these two go together. What role does social media and online extremism play in domestic terrorism, and how can it be regulated? So even social media, I think about the owner of X, formerly Twitter, And the disinformation that has become a part of that platform has gone through the roof. um, how do we hold that person, the owner, accountable? Not the people who are putting it out there, they should be held accountable as well. But how is it getting through? Going back to what I shared yesterday with AI and TikTok, how do we hold the owner, the founding member or board of TikTok accountable? Not necessarily the people. Let's get to the root. The root. Well, if we fix all this, let's talk about Facebook. I might get shut down today, but let's talk about Facebook for a moment. Why is it that I keep getting these things that says, "Oh, Gail, you should check out so and so"? I don't want to check them. I don't even know who you are. How are you getting on my wall? How are we getting these at everybody things? How are we getting hacked on a regular, on a platform that should be technology solid? How are we getting through and getting hacked on Instagram and so forth? We always say, this is a fake profile. Seriously, why do we have to report it? You should know it's wrong. If we have to give you all the information we're giving, you should know that this is wrong and it's a fake. So why aren't you? Where's your firewall when it comes to this? How can communities and law enforcement work together to identify and addressing this radicalization? Media literacy and information sources. Listen, I say this to you often. How can we ensure that we are well informed and critical consumers of news and information? How can we be well informed? Y'all, seriously, find you a news source that you trust and follow them. You don't have to watch every day, you don't have to read it every day, but at least stay up to date. Follow reputable sources. And don't be afraid to use the little guy. Seriously, because we probably have more information, or we have the freedom to share more information than those who are employed by the big people. Because there's certain things they can't say. I can say whatever I want to. Now that y'all can shut me down the platform, but no one's telling me I can't say certain things. That's why we do not. If y'all remember, we were using a department store as a sponsor. I had to give that up because they wanted to tell me what I could say and what I couldn't say. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. We have looked for other sponsors to continue to do the work and to bring you the news that we're bringing you. But there's rules. If I use them, there's rules. I can't say certain things. So we're doing this alone. There's some of you who like will sow $5 here, $10 there. We're trying to stay afloat. We're trying to survive. It's difficult. So we're trying to find like-minded people to join us here to help with the fiduciary as responsibilities to do what we do here. And it's hard. I'm being very transparent here. It's extremely hard. And that's what happens to most of us on a digital platform. We have people they're saying they're going to give and then they don't give, or if they give for a short time. And every dollar, every penny helps. But at some point, it's like we can no longer do this. So that's why you see those of us go away, because we can no longer sustain what it is that we're doing. Isaiah, you had something up and I wanted you to pull it back up. Facebook also interfering with freedom of speech and patrolling and snatching things down that don't support their beliefs. That's happening too. People are going to Facebook jail. Pastor Alex, good morning. He says the only cure for hate is agape love, y'all. Agape is countercultural and can be seen as big counter Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's that. Yeah. It's about control. So we have that. How do we foster healthy and respectful discussions on these complex issues? That's a conversation we should have. And then global cooperation. How can the United States and other nations collaborate to address these global challenges? So I don't want to leave y'all there. I want to just give you some positive ways that we can stay engaged. Exercise your right to vote. Y'all knew that was coming, right? Exercise your right to vote. If you are not a registered voter, it's too late for many of you unless you're in a state that you can vote and register on the same day. Everyone else, go ahead and register to vote now for 2024. It's not too late. It's not too early to get started. So participate in that, stay informed, consume news from diverse, reputable sources to understand the complexity of global issues, and support the news, whoever you're listening to. I told you about Jessica Yellen last week. I'll say about her again today. She's on Instagram. She also has a paywall subscriber list. of information, but she is a former analyst from CNN. She left CNN to do her own thing. You have to ask the question why, because she's free to do what she's doing. Okay, so support news like that. Support news in motion. Seriously. We don't ask that just for to say we're gonna go buy us a $100 dinner. No. Anything that we receive from support, we use to do the things that we're doing. Y'all, live stream costs. We're streaming to multiple platforms. It costs. It costs a significant amount of money. And we've been doing it on our own. And again, at some point we can no longer do that. Now with AI, we're trying to figure out what's misinformation, disinformation, and what are facts. It takes more people to do that. Can we stay where we are? No. We need to hire some people. And in order to do that, we need to have the funds to be able to do that. I am not going into 2024 election without having the funds to be able to hire some people to help us fact check. I can't do it. And I'm just being completely honest with y'all. I cannot do it. I cannot do it alone. There's no way. So we do need supporters. There's an opportunity for you to sponsor your product, your services. We've put that out there so many times for small businesses to just do that. And people are like, oh, well, you normally just talk about my t-shirts when you're on. You can't keep doing that. No, I've been doing that for 3 years. So you don't want to sew back into the place that's constantly put stuff out there for you, and you're constantly getting sales from that. Yeah, there's something wrong with that. So it goes back to our mindset as well. Engage in community discussion, support nonprofits, advocate for change, contact your elected representatives to voice your concerns and support policies that aligns with your values. Community involvement, join local community organizations. Y'all know where I'm headed. Attend town hall meetings is so important. Engage in projects that promote positive change in your neighborhood. Educate yourself. Like we talked about one of the emails that came in, I believe that was last week. We had a great discussion around it. Y'all, she feels better too. Y'all, don't just, you hear me. Okay. You hear other people. Okay. Pick up it's so easy. Smartphone, Google something and see what comes up. And then read it for yourself. We tell you all the time about ballotpedia.org. We'll get that up on the screen too, hopefully, ballotpedia.org. Look up what's happening on there. You can do a sample ballot from ballotpedia.org to see what's happening. Marion, if you could put that in, Isaiah is missing from the green room. Volunteer your time and skills to local or international organizations addressing pressing issues like hunger, education, and disaster relief. Donate, advocate for human rights. Let me see. Kim Edmondson says, you can't keep getting something for nothing. You're right. You're right. So Isaiah, put up ballotpedia.org, please. I see you're back in there. Advocate for human rights, stand up for human rights, both at home and abroad, by supporting organizations that advocate for policies that protect these rights. Mental health and well-being, y'all prioritize self-care. At some point, you have to come away from the television, turn off all the noise. I don't care, even news in motion at times. Is I just need a break from all this. It's so much, it's so overwhelming. Engage in your local and state government. Y'all engage, show up, let people know you're here, you're a part of it, you're listening. Again, attend town hall meetings. Support international cooperation, advocate for the importance of global collaboration. I cannot stress enough, Global Citizen is a great one to start. And then also, think about your tolerance level. How much can you tolerate? How much can you consume and take in? And then I'm back to take care of your mental health. I think that's so important. That's essential. So that's just some things. I don't want to just give you the news. Y'all know when we came back in September, I said I was going to give you ways that we can process some of these things. So I've been very intentional. I've been trying to include it at least once a week of, here's the information, but now these are some things that we can do to help ourselves and to help others. So with all of that, I want to move to the inspirational message real quick. And I want to talk about an invitation. I was scrolling through Instagram a couple of days ago and came across Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he was talking about prayer, and he was talking about an invitation. And I took that further. And it was just a reel, so maybe he said the same thing, but I just grabbed it from the reel. And it's that, it's time for us to invite. We keep asking God for things, but it's time for us to invite him into everything that's happening and what's going on. So it's inviting God into this war. God, I'm asking for peace, but I'm inviting you into this war that's taking place so that your peace, which passes all understanding, can be a blanket over this war and cease this war. I invite you in to my marriage. I invite you in to my school. I'm inviting you into my place of work. I'm inviting you in to whatever it is, into my home. I'm just inviting you in. So often I think we take for granted, and he's everywhere. God is everywhere. God shows up everywhere. But it's different when we have an invitation. I'm inviting you into this because I know you know the answer. I know you know what's best. I know that you can help me. I know that you can navigate us through this. Invite him in. Invite God in, and wait to see the transition, the transformation that takes place. It's interesting when there's a lot of asking that's taken place, but are we spending as much time inviting? I want to think about our friends for a moment. I thought about this. And I'm guilty. I said, how often do I just call up a friend and say, hey, meet me so-and-so? Well, was that an invitation? Or was I demanding them to do something? And I think about that when we're talking to God. Am I demanding that he does something? Am I demanding that God will do something, or am I inviting God into doing it? So that was an illustration for me. How often do I say, hey, meet me so-and-so? And my siblings are on here. They'll tell you I do that all the time. And it's like, well, where's the invitation? Like, I enjoy your company. I enjoy our conversation. Hey, let's, or if you're up for it, let's get together and do such and such. I would love your presence to be a part of whatever. So the same thing with God. God, I invite you. God, I'm asking, there's an open invitation for you to show up whenever, wherever, at any point. There's an open invitation. So think about the invitation today, y'all. Think about everything that's going on around the world today. I've given you a lot. I realize that. Be in prayer. We have that vote at 11 o'clock today if they move forward with it. Pray for the president of the United States who's over in Israel right now. Pray for all the pool. They're called a pool, who are they are the reporters and journalists. So pray for them. Pray for the citizens of Palestine, Israel, Gaza, Egypt, Jordan, all of those places. Pray for supplies to get there. Pray for peace. But let's invite God into that place and blanket that entire place with peace. Pray for Ukraine and Russia, the same thing. Pray God into that war and to put a blanket around that and just create a peace. It's a time to pray. It is truly a time to pray. Dr. Antoinette said, God, you are welcome and wanted. Yes. And that's where we'll end. Y'all, until tomorrow, this has been News in Motion with Gail Dudley. Y'all know what I say, stay well, keep moving, make some bold moves, and live your life in abundance. We're out.
NewsInMotion.